Who has heard of Bronty Golf? If you started playing in the 1970s or 1980s, then the name of Bronty is probably very familiar to you. They made a wide range of clubs from the 1960s right up until the late 1990s, and a set of their irons are the subject of the club review in this video. There'll also be a short look at the history of Bronty and at some of the clubs they made. So let's get down to business with the woods, which are by Harold Bird and Son.
Well, all of today's clubs are from what I would call the budget end of the spectrum, in that they weren't the highest priced clubs, but they certainly performed a function and got many golfers out on the course and playing. So the woods first. I featured these quite a few times. Harold Bird and Son, HB&S, Aldridge in the West Midlands. A very easy find on eBay, HB&S woods. These have got a black insert with some white pegs. They're not actually screws, but they do add a nice touch to the face. There were various transfers or decals used on the top of the woods. This one is called the Jaguar, but the same head shape was used, and it was just a matter of slapping a different transfer on. Obviously these are laminated. We can tell that by we can see the layers of wood there, and it's a plywood type finish, very strong, hard wearing, cheap to produce, and they produce good woods as well. The 3 wood, that one there, the 3 wood, same make, Harold Bird and Son. This one's got a bit of a range mark on the bottom there. Brass sole plate again, the 3 pit, the white pins, and this one is the pin seeker model, which was a very popular one for Harold Bird and Son. So there we go. And today's irons, nice. You can see exactly what these are because the numbers are stamped on the back of the head as well as on the sole. So we have here 2-4, 5-7 and the sand iron. So it's tournament model, and the maker is one of my regulars in the budget end. It's Bronty Golf, who were based in Leeds, the Pudsey area of Leeds. So exactly who made the heads for these, I'm not sure. They might have been produced in the UK or possibly even brought in from overseas, but as we can see, it's a straightforward blade design, a little bit of a bar in the middle there to centre the weight more across that band, a bit like the Wilson Dynapower effect. And as we've already seen, we've got the number on the back and the number on the sole. No ferrules on these, we've just got a tapered hosel, nice tidy finish, although I do like to see a ferrule. The shaft is an Apollo shaft by Ackles and Pollock. This is the AP83 in regular flex. So that's the 2 iron. In this set I've got 2 to 9. I'm missing the pitching wedge, which is annoying. I've been on the lookout for a pitching wedge to complete the set, but they don't seem to come up very often. I've often seen the sand iron as a single club, but not the pitching wedge, at least not at a price that I'm prepared to pay. These obviously aren't an expensive range, so I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a single club to complete them. So there's the sand iron, nice hefty sole on that. Same design really. We'll have a look at the 7 iron just to finish off. I don't know whether the faces were frosted at one time, but we've got the grooves boxed in by some lines either side there. Quite a high toe on these, square toe as we look down. Offset wise, what have we got? A little bit of offset there, but not a lot. So overall, it's an attractive looking blade. So it'll be interesting to see how I can score with these on the course. Finally, we've got the putter. This is another offering from Bronty. Bronty, I'd say, were best known for their putters and their Bronty Chipmaster and various wedges. They produce a wide range of putters, including the Rustler, the Bandito, well, the list goes on and on. But this one is a Mallet Putter. It's a two metal finish, so we've got brass on the back there, and I think the main part of the head is, I'm not sure if it's aluminium or stainless steel actually. I'll do a magnet test on it in a moment. But we can see it's a little bit of offset, or a Rhinex sometimes this is called when it's talking about putters. We've got a brass lozenge there in line with the sweet spot, and on the sole we've got the club name Bronty Double Gold. Very small, I wouldn't even call it a ferrule really, it's just a rubber band. The shaft on this one, Apollo again, as with the irons, and the grip is, what is it? It's a chamois grip by Avon. So there we are, decent weight. Now let me just go and get a magnet and we'll find out whether this is aluminium or steel. Right, I'm back with a magnet now. Just put that on the shaft so you can see that it is magnetic. I've got a magnet in the end there, and put it on the putter. No. So it's a non-magnetic metal. It could still be stainless because some stainless steels are non-magnetic, but I think this is aluminium. It's got that look to it, that sort of greyish colour. There's a few dents on there as well, which you'd expect on aluminium, although otherwise it's not in bad condition. I would have thought there would have been a few more dents on it, but I'm going to say it's aluminium, not that it really matters. So there we are, that's the putter for today. Let's hope it performs as well as it looks.
Here's what I've been able to find out about the company. Bronty Golf Company Limited started sometime in the mid-1960s. Exactly when, I don't know, but the first address I can find is on Kirkstall Road in Leeds, which is a single-fronted terraced shop. Whether they made clubs here or somewhere else, again, I don't know. Wally Hanson joined the company around 1972. Bert was the golfer and Wally knew about manufacturing, and so the business grew. The address given at this time was on Bradford Road in Stanningley. Was this always the manufacturing base and Kirkstall Road was purely the office address? One of the best sources of information I have found was this one from the Telegraph and Argus, a local newspaper. At its peak, Bronty employed a 25-strong workforce, and these quotes from Wally Hanson when the company closed down are a bit sad reading really. The firm's 5 employees were given their redundancy notices on the Friday following a decision by the majority shareholder, Wally, that it was time to call it a day. The one-man operation shown here was intended to distribute equipment that had been assembled elsewhere, because as Wally said, you can't compete with the Far Eastern countries anymore. But no trading appears to have happened through this company. As I mentioned, I've not found an exact date for when Bronty started, but here are some of the earliest adverts I've found in period magazines. First up is this one from Golf World, May 1967, showing the Chip Master, probably the club that defined Bronty more than any other. Then there is this one from Golf World, December 1967, showing a range of putters as well as the Chip Master. Golf World's March 1968 new equipment page highlights another of Bronty's best known clubs, the Rustler Putter. And from Golf World 1968 is an advert for irons, so the product range was already expanding. Jumping ahead to July 1975, and this article showing the wide range of putters now on offer. A little bit more about that later. And finally, from Golf Monthly, April 1977, is a list of the irons and woods available. Quite a full range. Bronty clubs could make an interesting subject on their own for a collector. The number of different clubs is vast, as we'll see. Let's take a look at some clubs then, beginning with the original Chip Master. Chippers are frowned on by some, but are a lifesaver for many. Here we have the Mark II version, with a more angular design, the Mark III, which sports a cavity back, and the Mark IV with what looks like an anti-shank hosel. Also on offer was the Pitchmaster, I assume with a higher loft than the Chipmaster. Bronty also made a wide range of wedges. Here are a couple, starting with the Super Wedge, which had a huge loft, and next the Sand Wizard with rails on the very large sole. On to the irons, my favourite subject. We begin with the tournament, as already seen, from 1967. Other clubs are more difficult to date, as I suspect that they were produced over many years, but here are a few examples, starting with the tournament, as already reviewed. This one, which doesn't appear to have a name, but is one of my favourite wingback styles, and looking on the sole, it says hand forged, which suggests a large factory, so who made this club? Next, the Bronty International in the reverse muscleback style. What I'm guessing is a later model. And finally, the last version with the BG. The match winner with a very large number on the back for people who pull the wrong club. The Classic Pro, as well as numbers, they use the arcade club names on the sole. One of the ladies' models, the Silver Fox, complete with the ubiquitous blue ferrule. The Rustler, the name was so popular that they used it for irons too. And what could be one of the last models, the Bronty CB. I said earlier how Bronty would make a good theme for a collection, but as we move on to the putters, I think that they could provide a fruitful subject on their own. Most of those coming up were found on one quick scan of current offerings on eBay. But we begin with the putters from the 1967 advert shown earlier. I can't actually remember seeing any of these, but then I've not been hunting for them. Next up, the Bronty Gem, a style of putter that has been copied by many makers over the years. The brass-headed PT1, the PT2, and the PT4. I assume that there's a PT3 out there somewhere. The BW1 with shades of Answer design, the BW2, the BW6, which I've used in an earlier video, and again I'm assuming that there are a BW3, 4 and 5 out there. And now we come on to the Rustler. Leeds Museum were lucky enough to have been donated some items from the defunct Bronty Company, which included this fine hinged mould for a Bronty Rustler. We can see where the molten metal was poured in and removable parts of the mould that enable cavities to be formed, as well as the brass insert on the face for a logo. And here is a Rustler putter, but no logo on the heel or the face. But some hunting, I found this one which does have the Bronty logo. Next, the Rustler Mark II, the Rustler 3-ball, the Rustler multi-weight, the Rustler 4-hole, the Z Rustler, this looks like an imported head, and the Z2 Rustler, another import looking head. As well as the Rustler, Bronty had many other named putters, such as the Bandito with a Mexican hat not just on the top but also on the sole. The Beaver, if Leslie Nielsen were to play golf, I think that this would be his putter.
Nice Beaver.
But on second thoughts, the Eager Beaver might be the one. Here is the Dingo. And this one is the Ferret. The Silver Knight, another one I featured previously. And its relative, the Golden Knight. The Scoop, which has a large scooped cavity on the sole. The Double Gold is featured in this video. And the Swan Shot. To round things off, the Torpedo. But I'm sure that there are many more models out there to be found. So good luck to anybody that undertakes these as a collection. We'll end the video with a look at the lofts on today's clubs. But before that, the classic golf tip for the day. and this one is for short putts, and it's to make sure that you hit the putt firm enough so that the ball hits the back of the hole before it drops to the bottom, and that will ensure that you don't get any of those frustrating little breaks at the end of the putt, or the putt just stops short of the hole. And here are the lofts for today's featured clubs, which I'll be playing in part 2. For the most part, the irons are pretty good, following very close to my preferred lofts. There's just 2 standout clubs that are a little out of the ordinary. The first is the 2-iron, which has got a greater loft than the 3-iron at 27 degrees. I'm not sure what's happened there. And the other one is the sand iron, which has got a very high loft of 60 degrees. This time it was pretty much standard to have 56 degrees on the sand iron, so again it's a bit of an outlier there. Well, that rounds things off. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you tune in for part 2 once it's released. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.